Imagine you've deployed your application to Kubernetes, but where should you store your configuration files and database password? ConfigMap or Secret? Choose the wrong one, and you could expose sensitive data. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly when to use ConfigMap, when to use Secret, and how to confidently implement both in Kubernetes.
So basically, what is the application image? So whenever we try to containerize the application, we will try to identify all the dependencies. So based upon that only, we will first package the application. But once the application is packaged, let's say I have prepared one application image to deploy it in a QA environment. And to deploy my application's QA environment, I need some configuration files. Because environment specific configuration files are available. So you need to pass that file as an input to your deployment. So instead of passing it as an input, if you hard code those files within an image, means you need to create multiple images for each and every environment. Consider I just want to deploy my application image in dev environment. So in this dev environment, I want to deploy my application image. And to deploy it in a dev environment, I need some dev configuration files to be updated. So if I have the dev configuration file upfront, and if I create an application image using this dev file, then you cannot reuse this image in the QA environment. It's not possible. Why? Because that image is already updated to the dev configuration. You cannot pass any QA there. So it leads to creating a new image altogether with the QA configuration. Similarly, for each and every environment, we need to have dedicated images. If you have 100 environments, you need to create 100 images. Is that feasible? No. So what we do here is we will prepare this image as a separate entity. We never include any configuration file during the image creation process. So all that we do here is we are just going to prepare one application image, and what are the input files required to deploy this particular image in Kubernetes, that will be passed at runtime like this. Through your manifest file, you can pass it. So now when it gets deployed to dev environment, it uses this file as an input and deploys it. So how it is possible means in Kubernetes, we have a concept called ConfigMap. So ConfigMap is used to maintain some data for deployments. So this ConfigMap volume is used to pass the configuration as an input. So what are all the files you want to pass it as the input? It can be to any target environment, QA, UAT, or production, whatever it is. So what type of image or what type of input file you're going to pass along with that image or at runtime, that will be decided by this ConfigMap. And this ConfigMap are used to pass or share the sensitive data files. So if you use any ConfigMap volume, the data, whatever you maintain in the file, it can be exposed even outside the pod. But if you, instead of passing some ConfigMap or configuration data, if I want to pass some database credentials, let's say I have deployed one application database, I just want to manage my database. So for that, I need some database credentials. You cannot pass any sensitive data with the ConfigMap. For that, we go with the concept called secret volume, encrypted. So whenever we try to handle the data or any input file using secret, it will just encrypt data. So how to prepare this ConfigMap and how to prepare the secret? What is the default template to create the volumes? Means it's very straightforward. It's just going to use our manifest file. This is an example for your ConfigMap, and there's another example for secrets. So all that we're going to do here is first we'll see how to set up this in our environment. I'm going to first create the ConfigMap, and as I said already, ConfigMap is used to maintain some files or data here. So how we can able to get this config file? So as I said already, the config maps are used to maintain some data that can be exposed. Okay, it is not any sensitive data. So just looking at the scenario here, I'm going to prepare this config map. This is a command to create config map. kubectl create config map command followed by the name of the config map. And this config map requires some input files, right? That is a basic property here. Files are required. So how to pass this file means like you can create your file on the same machine itself. F1 text file and F4 text file. So it means the file is safe now. Using this file, you can able to create the object here, config map objects or whatever, and then use get command or this command to understand the properties of that object. Once you have the config map created, you can see kubectl create config map followed by the name of the config map using this from instruction for file 1, and this is for file 2. Using these two files, we can able to create one config map volume, and then you can able to verify the results, like where it gets deleted, installed, what is the IP address, everything can be described. Once this is done, the next thing is how you are going to consume that volume in your pod. Further, what you can do, we can again go with your pod deployment. Okay, like during your pod deployment, what are things you use? You can use the same thing. Like I'm going to use a pod type, and the metadata is going to identify the name of that particular object, pod object, and the specification that's going to identify the name of the containers, image name, two more parameters. One is volumes, and another thing is containers. So volumes means it is something which can be mounted to your container. So just look into the scenario here. Till this, it is common. You must be aware of it. Already we did it. But now the special cases, in order to deploy this particular pod, I'm going to attach my config map volume here. So to attach any volume to your Kubernetes object, use the volumes key, give the name with the relevant, and then enter the type of the volume that you want to use. So config map is a type of volume. And once it is configured, using this DNS or your web URL, you can able to access that application. So now I have prepared this config map. This is the name of the config map volume, and I just want to attach to my pod. By default, the container will be having its own mount path. So in that mount path, you're going to add one new file and then that will be mapped with the actual volume that is available outside. So the config map, whatever we prepared, it is applicable at the cluster level, not within a node. The data, whatever we maintain in secret volume, it will be encrypted. So this is the volume which we have prepared at the cluster level, the config map volume, and this is just a name of the volume, this tag we are assigning to that one. Once it is done, you are going to use this volume mounts, identify the directory where you have that component available, and then make it as read-only true. So it means any user who wants to work on Kubernetes using kubectl commands, we can able to limit the access. Okay, only some number of users can use this command to update this file. Similarly, if you compare it to the secret volume, so there's an example for secret volume. I have two files, one is admin and password file. Based upon that admin and username and the password field, I'm going to prepare one secret volume. Kubectl create secret followed by the file names, whatever we want to attach to that particular date. That is the basic difference. The config map and secrets are available and you cannot directly read the content of the secret volume. It will be in an encrypted form, correct? But your config maps are not like that. Okay, let's create these two files first. So I'm preparing two files, file 1 and file 2. And I just want to attach this file to another container or pod. It can be in the same region or different region, also no problem. So now we can run the command kubectl create command to prepare this config along with the volumes. It's created now. Once it is created, you can able to use a get command to get the details and describe the properties of the config map. So when I say describe command, kubectl describe followed by the config file name. In the case, you can able to see the properties of the particular config map. And in addition to that, you can something called data, the files, whatever we have, like your file1.txt and file.txt, it's all associated in the same definition of our deployment, but it will be utilized only during runtime. In the same way, if I try to execute any sensitive data like secret, password, let's create these two files, and based upon these two files, I'm going to prepare one secret volume. Secret volume also is created now. So once it is done, you can able to get the details of the secret volume. Like kubectl get secrets command will get you the secrets whatever we have prepared in this infrastructure. As of now, there is only one secret value available. And the next thing is you can able to use a describe command here. See what happened. So in config map and secret volume, what is the difference actually? So as like the config map, for secret volume also I prepared two files and I just pass those files to secret volume. But when you say describe command, the describe command can able to get you the complete properties of that object. And here it is showing me the file name along with the record. Which record is available file? It is getting exposed now. Same data, if you maintain using your secret volume, you can see, you can able to find the file name, but the actual data will be encrypted. It's saying like 9 bytes and 5 bytes. You cannot see the content of the file when you create it through your secret and access data through, outside that particular volume. So that is about your config map and secret volume, and you can able to attach it through this command itself. Like when creating the pod, you can attach that volume to that particular pod.